Welcome back. Bob is the plumber, is my channel. So, when people think of plumbing, they mostly think of toilets and household plumbing. Well, just a little side note, plumbing is the oldest craft there is. And I use this analogy. Plumbers are responsible for the health of the nation, which is from American Standard, which actually makes the China that I prefer to use. I've used a lot of other China, but American Standard has been the old faithful go-to. Okay, probably been around the longest. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm going to assume it is. But plumbers are responsible to get a fuel source in to heat water. That could be propane, it could be natural gas, or any other type of oil or any type like that. Secondly, plumber's responsibility is to bring you fresh water to your home. We use the phrase potable water or potable water, okay, which means water is fit for human or animal consumption. And again, these are all definitions that you're going to learn later on when we dig deep into the code books. The second thing is, or the next thing is, that plumbers are responsible to get rid of the wastewater when you're done. So there's two types of wastewater, gray water, okay, and black water. Black water is sewage water. Gray water is from a secondary drain, from a bathroom sink or a bathtub or a kitchen sink. That is considered gray water. Are they different a little bit? Okay. For the most part, it is the plumber's responsibility to get rid of these items. So, being that the most common thing people relate to plumbing is a toilet. Okay, what's the real name for a toilet? Water closet. Okay, Thomas Crapper did not invent the water closet. Thomas Crapper died with 9 patents. Alexander Cumming in 1775, who evolved with the tank type water closet. So there's a little bit of the history of a toilet. Now, what is the purpose of a trap? The purpose of a trap is to prevent sewer gases from coming back into a home. How does a trap stop sewer gases? It creates a barrier of water, and that holds the sewer gases back and forth. So, do you put a trap below a toilet? The answer is no. Why? Because the toilet is a trap, and we're going to get into that a little bit deeper here. All right, so this simulates a toilet setting. All right, number one, when you're learning plumbing, I highly recommend this book. It's called Plumbing Complete. I use it as a reference to this day when I teach classes. It's very well organized, and overall, it's a very good teaching source. So, a water closet, a toilet, what about them? Well, they're 2-piece, a standard, or a 1-piece. Commercial has a flushometer, a different type of flush valve, but this is a standard toilet that would go in a residential environment. Do toilets come different sizes? Yes. They don't really come different sizes as they come different configurations and for different measurements. All right. This line here emulates a wall. So you will see somewhere on this box it says a 12-inch rough. Okay, meaning from the center of this flange to this wall is 12 inches. If you look right there, my helpful Andy drew a line for me here to show what 12 inches is. A lot of people get confused because they go to change their toilet and it's only 11.5 inches and they get confused. Remember the phrase 12 inches in the rough. Now, what do they make as an option? They make as an option a 10-inch rough, which means you would be 10 inches from the wall, and they also make a 14-inch rough. When are those applicable? Okay, when there is a joist or a truss or some type of structural material that plumbers cannot notch out to install the toilet flange, or closet flange is what we would call that. So we would then go to a 14 or a 10-inch rough to move the toilet in or out. Can we move a toilet left to right? Theoretically, no. According to our code, a toilet has to be centered in a 30-inch opening. I like 36-inch openings, meaning from each side of the toilet, there's 15 there and 15 here. That is a standard toilet. A standard 5x8 bathroom has a 5-foot tub, 30-inch for a toilet. So now you're at 30 for a tub, 30 for a toilet, you're at 5 foot, and 36 inches for a vanity. Now that you've heard that, you will envision that in every bathroom. Next, you will notice that a properly designed bathroom. Now, are there a lot of bathrooms out there that are not properly designed? But I was taught a properly designed bathroom is the toilet is not conspicuous if the door is left open. That's why most bathrooms you'll see a vanity, a door, a vanity, a toilet, and a tub. Therefore, if the door is left open, the vanity is blocking the toilet. Are there a million that not that way? Yes, there are. But I'm just telling you what I've been taught over the years. That's the way they were. Now, different types of toilets come in different heights of toilets. Primarily, the normal standard height for a toilet is about 16 inches. America Standard came out, and I'm going to guess 10 years ago, with what they call the right height. It's a little bit taller. And as we spoke earlier, as people have found out that it's more comfortable to use a right height toilet. On a side note, Thomas Crapper died from a bad bowel movement. Just on a side note, and he's a man who had 9 patents on water closets. So we're going to open up this toilet right now, and then we're going to go through it. The height is 16 inches, maybe 16 and a half with the seat. Okay, again, that is the phrase, the right height. Now, the next question they come is, do they come in the same bowl diameters? They come 2 different bowl diameters, round front and elongated. Okay, we will find out that most people like elongated. They're a little more comfortable, especially when you're a larger man. If you have limited space, then I recommend you stay with a round front. A round front, 15 inches in the front is good, but if you put an elongated one in, you're going to need a little more than 15 inches of space. So, a little story about this. I was installing a toilet in Mentor, Ohio, with my dad working there 30-some years ago. And I thought it was a good idea 2 hours before the mayor was coming for a grand opening for a park. I thought it was a good idea to crack the toilet tank. So let's see if I can do it again without cracking a toilet tank. My dad finally forgave me. It only took 30 years. Now that we did some camera magic and got the toilet out of the box. All right. So I want to point out to you that the trap on the toilet. If you notice right here, this is a trap. Okay, this is called a trap weir or a trap seal. So what happens is it holds water in here to prevent gases from coming back up. So this is a trap seal. This again is an American Standard toilet, so it's the right height, approximately 16¼ inches, be 17 with a seat on it. If you actually had to get what they call ADA, which is American Disability Act, handicap toilets are actually 18 inches. Those are what are installed in a commercial facility, a nursing facility, or any type of skilled care hospital, etc. Again, this is a residential type toilet, and it is what American Standard refers to as the right height. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure they have that trademarked and patented and all that good stuff. So again, you see the trap, okay? This here is called a sanitary lip. The reason it's called a sanitary lip is because bacteria, I would tell you it's from all the women missing when they pee, but that's not the case, I'm sure. It's from men, and the bacteria goes back to here. Now, I'm going to ask this question. What stops the water from this bowl going back to the potable water system where somebody could drink it or use it for cooking or bathing? We will get to that answer in several elements of installation of a toilet. So, number one, we're going to go to set the toilet. Now, I still like the wax rings with the cones on them. Some, and I don't know for sure if this manufacturer, this toilet does, or I keep calling it a toilet, it's actually a water closet. This closet instructions will void your warranty if you use one of those wax rings with the plastic cone on them. So therefore, we use them without the cone. Now, anybody know one thing that I'm doing specifically wrong? You cannot set a toilet on wood. Obviously, this is staged for the purpose of showing. Why can't you set it on wood? Because of the bacteria that wicks in the wood. The word wicking refers to water traveling. If you notice and you get a drywall wall wet 3, 4, 6 inches up, the drywall wicks up and it becomes wet 2, 3 feet high. So you basically set the wax ring over the center of the hole. Now, I don't recommend you go down to the Home Depot and buy yourself a wax ring and let it sit in your truck on the dashboard overnight and freeze, because it does not adhere to the toilet well. I have personally never, but I've heard of guys putting a toilet down on a frozen wax ring and cracking the toilet. Just something to think about. You want to keep the wax rings in an inclement position where they're not froze solid. So we set the wax ring over. Now, toilet bolts. What are they called? What's the real name for them? Closet bolts. They come various sizes and various lengths. These are 1/4 inch by 2 inch. I personally like the 5/16 by 2 1/4, but I'm the only person that does. All right, and these come with a little lock sleeve that lock them in place so they're not moving it around and you're fighting them. So, we're going to put the bowl on, okay, and there's washers and there's nuts, and then there's plastic washers that go in that hold the bolt caps. Well, because I want to put this back in the box, we're not going to use the bolt caps, but I will show you what they are when we put the tank on. So I'm going to proceed to set this bowl. A little easier when you're standing over top of it and you can see right down on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure from the wall to my center of my bolt holes, and just a hair over 12. I'm a little under 12, so it's going to go like this. Now what I would actually do if this was a wall here, I would actually measure from this bolt back to this bolt back to make sure that the back of the toilet tank is parallel to the wall. All right, now that we've set the toilet, we're going to go over some parts of the toilet. This is a trap weir. This is the trap or trap seal. This is the weir. This is the 90 that comes off of the back of the trap. This is what's called an S-trap. All right, I will show later the difference in an S-trap and a P-trap. S-traps are illegal fittings, okay? In this situation, because it dumps into what the code book says, it has to dump into a toilet bend or a closet bend. Therefore, you can actually put a toilet over a pipe in the floor because we're within X inches of a vent. So how does a plumbing system truly work? Have you ever went to pour gas out of a gas can and you open it up and it burps out of the one end? That is how a plumbing system works. You have to have air for a system to drain. If you don't have air, you will become what's called vapor lock. Hence the reason people bleed brakes on a vehicle. Okay, because you have to get the air out so things don't air lock. Okay, if you really get into the plumbing system, you'll learn about hydrolysis. All right, if you have a tie-in too close to the base of a stack, you'll create hydrolysis and pull fixtures dry. We're not going to get into that right yet. I hope to, but I think this is a great fundamental start. So we're going to bolt this toilet down real quick, and then we're going to open up the toilet tank. All right, so as you see, we have a water closet installed, trap weir, S-trap. We understand that. And here's the toilet tank. I'll open the tank up. Now, as I spoke about earlier with 10, 12, and 14-inch rough, some of the manufacturers only change the tank. It's where they drill them, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit's hole here. I want to go back to technical of how we know when a toilet, what's wrong with the toilet. So this is called a tank to bowl kit. All right. This goes on here. And if water leaks out here, it's one of these bolts are leaking or this gasket is bad. That's if the water is leaking here. If the water is leaking from where this connects, okay, then we have a supply issue. Something with the toilet tank where the water line connects. If we have a leak underneath, we have something with the wax ring. Or we have a clogged line. So we're going to proceed to set this toilet tank on here. But I am very sloppy, so I'm going to take my time and do this real carefully. Now, you're going to come across a lot of plumbers that'll laugh at you for this and think this is crazy. I can tell you right now, my dad plumbed for 40-some years, and there wasn't a toilet that he installed without painting a little pipe dope on the face of that gasket. So in my 40 years, there's not been a toilet I've installed without doing the same. Okay, I got the right side done. There it is. All right. So now that I got it started, I'm going to tighten it up with the plastic wrench that comes with it. All right, we have both sides of that tightened up now. Now we're going to proceed to connect the water line. As you can see, we're back. We have a toilet installed, or water closet, I should call it. The tank is full of water. You never fill the tank right to the plastic rim. Okay, you fill to what says CL in there. And people think CL stands for center line. It does not. It stands for critical level. If you go over that level, then you can get vacuum and suck water back down. Again, that'll be a whole nother video. So now here's what happens when you flush the toilet. There's a flapper or some type of flush valve assembly in there. Okay, the flapper or flush valve lifts up. Okay, flush tower, some people call it. Okay, it lifts up and the water goes from the tank to the bowl. Now there's jet holes all the way around here. Okay, so when we flush it, the water comes back in and refills. Now there's a little bit of water that always goes back in here to prime. So in this video, what we've covered is the various types of sizes of toilets, various heights of toilets, and basically American standard that I've grown up using and I'm kind of partial to. Next videos will be troubleshooting. Remember, Thomas Crapper did not invent the toilet.